got success from a very young age. To live the Persian dream was my ultimate cage. A self-imposed prison seeking public admiration. It brought a lot of drama that began my devastation. The Beamer, the Rolex, the penthouse suite, the trophy wife with pedicures and hotcakes on her feet. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but that's all there was to me. A man without a mission with a DC degree. Am I good or am I evil? Live for praise from the people. Addiction to the fame is the work of the devil. I wanna make a splash, not just live for the cash. The struggle in my mind is the battle with my ego. 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 Tragedy of life was what I went through. To get my spirit straight was what I had to do. Turn my losses into gains, put my focus on my brain. Formulated a method to help others through pain. 1, 2, 3, people look at me. Crazy Dr. Nima putting focus on me. Who wanna learn the method that allow you to be physically strong and mentally free. Am I good or am I evil? Live for praise from the people. Addiction to the fame is the work of the devil. I wanna make a splash, not just live for the cash. The struggle in my mind is the battle with my ego. 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 Thank you.
We're about to get started and did our rituals and meditations and all that and setting an intention. And for those of you who are going to be creating live trainings and doing this type of work, there's a duality that's present. If you've had a really rough and heavy first part, the next part usually goes really smoothly. And this is my baby, right? So you want to make sure that everyone really gets it and everybody leaves with a profound shift in their awareness, in their level of understanding, in their love for themselves. And so this is what it's all about, baby. At the end of the day, I'm constantly reminding myself that I'm actually living my dream, that 10 years ago, I created a possibility to do this, and I'm doing it every day, and I'm so privileged to be walking people through this method. So right now, everybody's doing their own work. They've been paired off. I've just taught them the overview method and how to take somebody through. And everybody's doing the work on clearing past resentments and regrets. And one of the things I was present to that happens a lot of the time is people who do spiritual work, people who do healing work, they do this thing called bypassing, where we have this kind of fantasy of positivity, that everything should be positive and happy, and that their refusal to go into the dark and experience it again so that we can emerge on the other side, kind of, it's like putting a rug over it. And you live with it longer, and it kind of buries, whatever you bury actually buries you. And I got up in the front and showed him what it looks like to own it and go into the dark instead of bypassing it. And what happened was I had Eilina, one of my coaches, ask me, so Nima, the fact that they didn't get it, that raised a trigger with me, what does that bring up for you? And all of a sudden I showed him what it's like to own it. And I said, I feel like I'm a horrible coach. What it brings up for me is that I feel like I'm not a good enough coach. And I started bawling. I got really present to it, and I got in there. I went into that dark space, and the people who were bypassing before, that were deflecting, saw what it's like to actually go in and own the meaning you're making out of stressful events. Because when I ask you what's the problem with your partner, what's the problem with your spouse, what's the problem with your boss, you're always like, he's this way, she's that way, they're this way, and I feel that they do so-and-so, when in fact, you're denying what that's bringing up for you because it's too painful. So we put up a wall and block our vulnerability, and then block our healing and block our access to power and love. So it was a really profound moment for me to actually show them in real time, me sitting in the hot seat, being on the court. Actually, I spontaneously just came up with that idea and showed them in real time, and it was probably one of the most powerful moments that I've experienced as a workshop facilitator. That was a first for me. It was amazing. What are you present to as far as the transformation between the heaviness of Saturday and what's transpiring as they commit to this work?
Oftentimes the degree of initial resistance is a sign of the grandiosity of the breakthrough.
Yeah. The bigger the breakdown, bigger the breakthrough. We've seen some amazing.
Yeah, which means trust is really present, because you don't go into your scariest things unless trust is present.
The breakdown actually gave them the roots from which to rise up into trust.
And it's really cool to be able to create an arena, which we actually experience that, watching them go through it, and we, each of us, are going through something ourselves.
As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm.
As a team, we're doing it, and so I'm very present to how fortunate I am to be living my dream and then be working with such an incredible team that are like brothers and sisters and family. So these guys are the shit. One of the hallmarks of the work that we do with the Overview method is the realization most people are living in a victim story from their past about mom, about dad, a story of I'm not good enough, a story of they didn't support me enough, a story of they rejected me, they abandoned me. Through the process of the Overview method, what we do is we actually go and uncover these stories, peel them back, unpack them, and expose them to be lies. And the best part of the work that we do is after that story is unpacked, we go back to the people who were impacted by those stories, whether it was mom or dad. If they're still alive, you're called on to make a phone call and to share with them your new revelations. And by doing so, you claim your power back. And so that's JJ. He's having a conversation right now. He's a psychiatrist. He's having a conversation with his father. How'd it go?
The realization that I've made over the past few months working with Lina and the team is that I guess my inner narrative is that I'm not good enough, I'm incompetent, inadequate. Everything that triggers me goes back to that same dark passenger.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is, whatever triggers me, pisses me off, everything goes back to that. Makes me feel insecure, goes back to the inadequacy. And I've realized over working with Lina over the past few months that it came from the way my dad taught me and educated me, and how he expected me to always be the best. To the point that one time he told me that if you weren't gonna be the best, you're not gonna amount to anything. I should just buy you a tricycle and go pick garbage for the rest of your life.
Typical Asian father. This is Asian love, people.
Yeah. But what I realized though over the weekend was where I am today is largely, and I would have to say solely, because of my father and my dark passenger as a result. Therefore, I got the motivation to be where I am, be a doctor, be a specialist
In medicine.
yeah, and everything that I am and will be in the future. And what I did realize even more today through the weekend was I realized that he's loved me all along. I just never saw it that way, and that I love him, and I never told him with all my sincere heart.
This might sound obvious to you listening, especially if you're a father. But to a son, a Persian or a Asian Chinese son, we make a meaning out of those words. You know, you're going to be a garbage man, you're going to be a bum, you're going to, not to diss any of that, but it's said in such a powerful, authoritative way that we turn around and we make the meaning that we're not good enough. You know, let me know if you can relate to that. We're not good enough. But through this process, Jay has discovered that, you know, psychiatrist, doctor, how old are you, man? You're 30. He's done quite well for himself. He's got options, opportunities. Too bad he's not that good looking, but that's not his fault.
I have a 10, not good enough.
Not good enough,
Not
exactly.
good enough.
The next part of it is to go and have the conversation with Dad. How did that go?
That went really well, actually. I think my father, I don't know, maybe he's been expecting something like this already, but he handled it really well. So when I told him that, you know, all these times I've made is the way he taught me to meant that I wasn't good enough. He didn't shy away, and he told me that he's always loved me, and he's just teaching me from the way he knew, the only way that he knew. And he was able to really accept and appreciate my realization. And for the first time today, I was able to tell him that I love him with no hesitancy. And he came straight out of the deepest, sincere gratitude of my heart that I love him. And I think he felt it too.
And so when you started this journey with us, could you see a difference between, like, I just want to acknowledge, like, Jay is very open, and you can see how open and vulnerable he is. What was the big block for you when we began this journey together?
I think the biggest block and mask that I put on was because I felt inadequate. So I was always like, I have to act and look like and behave in ways that make me look like I'm good enough, I'm superior, I'm strong, and all that. So here the outfits, the hairstyle, the fact to go to the gym and all that stuff.
Gotta look good.
It all has to do, it all
Just
came,
putting out
yeah.
putting out an image, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can, I'm sure you can relate. We all can. Me too. And so the name of the game is vulnerability, and then restoring that. And then what happens on the other side of that conversation becomes what?
Freedom. Because what happened was, instead of letting the fear, the dark passenger, the inner narrative drive me and enslave me, I now turn around and I recognize what it is, I embrace it for what it is, and I'm actually able to harness
And then
As my
use it
power.
and use it as power. And then look at this guy, J.I. You've heard his name here. This isn't the last you've heard of this guy. He's going to be taking this work and expanding his knowledge. And even though he's part of the dark side in psychiatry, I keep joking with him. He's going to take this work and he's going to create this incredible model with all the tools that he has and the credibility that he's built up. And he's going to help a lot of people with it. So watch this space.
it. And thanks to this guy, Nima. Thank you. Couldn't have done it without him.
Thanks, bro. Speechlessness. That's the best way that I could describe the weekend, because what happened was categorically every single intention that we had set out before the weekend came true. We had people bust through their resistance. It was indescribable, and I'll tell you the turning point. The turning point of the entire weekend happened when my frustrations that were built up from the first day, I went in on the second day and I did the work on it in front of everybody. So what I did was I got in there and I felt those feelings in front of everybody and let it all out. And boom, instantly, there was a shift in the dynamic and everybody started to do the work. They started to get it. They started to participate fully. They let go. And the lesson that I got out of it was the entire weekend and how it goes is a complete reflection of who I'm being in that moment. And when the resistance comes, not to get so stressed about it, but to actually embrace the journey of that as part of the resistance is actually on the way. Actually, we're off to Australia just as it finishes. We're packed up. It's a whirlwind tour. We're going to Australia for 2 weeks and doing another overview experience, this time in Australia, creating magic out of nothing once again. And this is the dream life that I get to experience. Thanks for following along with me.